Hey everyone, good night. Good night. It's going to be a good night indeed. We have Pontificators for you guys. It's Wednesday, and we are bringing the boys back, the Pontificator brothers back, and we are going to pontificate the hell out of you guys, or a subject or something along those lines. Yes. So, RT Bear here, and the idea behind Pontificators is we get a subject, and then we pretty much just talk it to death. So we have a bunch of people that come in and interesting people, interesting points of view, and then we just talk it out. We see the problems, and then hopefully at the end we kind of resolve it or try to come up with some kind of solutions just to leave on a good note. So that's the idea behind Pontificators. I want to see a sign of life, and once I do my business, I'm going to invite all my my brethren, my Pontificator brothers in here. So we got Mick Gregoriable, Jay. I hope I said that right. How are you? We have J-Dog. The J-Dog is in the house. We have Past Master Dan. Always a good time with Past Master Dan in the chat. 2 times a day. Don't strain, Grandpa. Yeah, this is a strain. I just had a delicious cheeseburger. My wife says I never make good cheeseburger. It was delicious. It was so damn good. So I'm in a good mood. I don't know if you guys are like me, but when I have good food, it puts me in a good mood. So hey, Joe Bernardo, aloha. We have Christopher John in the house. So I'm gonna let the people kind of find this stream, come in, say hi to everybody, and then we will start the show. So Blackwater Reveries, we have Hail to Thee. Let me see if I can say this. Zazindi P. Hello. Burgers are the best. Yes, we got some kind of, it's like a cheddar cheese. It's like a spicy cheddar combo. It was really good. I've never seen it before we moved to Texas, so I don't know what the hell it is, but it was good. Table Wolf. That's an interesting name. Hey, what's up? Southern Cecil. How are you, brother? The J-Dog is back. Kelsey is alive. He is streaming with Richard Friend earlier. Yeah. I wanted to catch it, but I got a little busy. I've been drawing my ass off on black and white, so trying to get it in shape before the campaign. And what I mean by in shape is to try to make sure that I want to get the story. I want to get the story intact. So that means the writing, the plot, basic dialogue, and layouts. And I have to say we are so close to achieving that goal. So before we launch, we should have the 64 pages at this point for Black and White Volume 2. And speaking of Black and White Volume 2, I think we got enough people in. I will share this with you guys. Okay. So this is Black and White Volume 2, Man versus Machine. So this is the pre-launch page. In a world where law and order is often blurred to gray, justice can only be black and white. If you guys sign up right now, just give me your email so you can be on the mailing list, and you will get a free trading card with backing. And also for that, you will have first, you guys are going to be contacted first. And so all the exclusives and all the early birds, you will get to pick over before anybody else. So you will be able to get in there before that stuff sells out, because we got the original Black and White Volume 1 cover, and it's very, very limited. So those are going to sell out quickly. And we have the Black and White original Grey Capullo variant cover, which will sell out very, very quick. We are still going to have a Black and White Volume 1 offered, but it will be a second printing with a new cover. So that's the idea there. Let's see what this Red Gaze video is all about. Let's do this. There's the Greg Capullo cover right there. I dig the music. So that's the little teaser that Red Gaze and myself put together for you, just to get you, just to entice you to basically sign up for this fantastic upcoming campaign, which will be launching in August. I do have to network with some of the other Comicsgate guys just to make sure that we don't all launch on the same day, because there's quite a few books that are going to be launching in August, and Black and White will be among them. And so we have that. And let me see if I can do this. I believe if I just click this, we go here. All right. Yeah, this is Chrono Mechanics Retrofit. They do more before the dawn of time than most people do all day. We have been getting quite a bit of orders. Those orders are going out daily, you guys. So as you back a book, the orders go out. So your book should come relatively quick after backing a tier. So we are at 53 and 967. 788 backers. So I think one more backing ought to do it for 54. That was my original goal. Like, oh, if we could get to 54 before we shut this thing down, I will be very, very happy. But I think we have a chance to make 55, which is a nice number. We still have a couple days to do that. And then this campaign is going bye-bye. And this book will no longer be available to you guys, which makes me sad. But we got to move on. So this is Chrono Mechanics. These are the guys that repair time. And this is Team 9.2 of Sector 7. And there's a lot of cool stuff here. We got some interior pages that you can look over. Hopefully you dig those. And I'm encouraging people that have already backed to possibly pick up the sketchbook, Work in Progress. Here's some of the interiors. And we have the variant cover collection. So you can still get these fantastic covers by a lot of really, really talented people that I'm still just amazed that I was able to get. Most of them volunteered it, which was easier for me to get working. And then also, you guys, there's a poster set here. And here it is right here. Bring on the posters. So 45 will get you 2 killer posters. One is the Doug World Tour poster, and the other one is the Time to Panic poster. And these are a lot of fun. They are 6.5 by 10. And oh no, those are for the mini prints. We have 4 mini prints that come with this set as well. The print itself is 18 by 13, and they're on heavy stock. So it's not poster paper. It's heavier stock paper. They look very, very cool on the wall. I have one here, the World Tour poster, the Doug World Tour poster on the wall in the studio here. So let me come back to you guys. Man, there's a lot of light that's coming through this window. I am the ray of sunshine here. So yeah, let me touch base with you guys, catch up in the chat, and then I'm going to bring my Pontificator brethren in, and we will start the show proper. We will get this show crazy. Yeah, I like to do the advertising before they get on, because sometimes it's a little awkward for them to sit through that stuff. So that's why I do it. Also, you guys, Ethan Van Sciver has his Cyberfrog action figures. So go check those out. Get yourself an action figure. They look crazy cool, man. They look so good. And I still have to back and pick one up, which is in my future. I cannot go without having one of those things. CG Art Auction is August 6th on Ethan's channel. Indeedy do. So I'm going to have some artwork available for you guys on the show. That should be fun. It always is fun. Joe Bonaro, you should give Alistair a dog name, Arrow, at the end of the book, John Wick style. Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe sell some art, then launch the next day. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That's a really good idea, Jay. Just signed up for Black and White Volume 2. Thank you, Southern Cecil. You are the man. You are the man, the myth. Let's see what Bob Gable has to say. Just ordered a cheesesteak. Carry on. My wife loves cheesesteaks. I'm not a big cheesesteak fan. I'll have a bite sometimes if she really thinks it's good. I'll snag a bite from her, but other than that, I'm not a cheesecake person, or a cheese steak, I should say. I love cheesecake. Hey, Art and chat, we got Lord Crackhead. When the crack is in the chat, you know there's a party for sure. So let's see. Ghost, what's that? Centurion. I'm sorry. Art, I missed Volume 1. Is the series of Black and White a reboot of the Image books or a continuation? It is a reimagining with completely new artwork. So Volume 1 was a little bit of a hybrid of reworked artwork and brand new artwork, and Volume 2 is going to be all completely new artwork. And so yeah, it's gonna rock. Volume 2 is stunning. I was thinking it was going to be 48 pages. It's now 64 pages, and we're going to do an epilogue. So it's probably going to be, if we can get the stretch goal, because we're gonna offer the the epilogue as a stretch goal. So if we can unlock that, then you guys will get 4 new pages. Time is an arrow, indeedy do, and time flies when you're having fun. Crypto Ken. Art, where is my Rocketeer sketch? Good question. It should have been sent out. I don't think I have it here. Let me see. If I did, it would be over here somewhere, which it is not. So it's probably in the mail. I could ask Pamela, but that would take time away from you guys. So I don't want to do that. What is this? Good selling point. Arrow Inco is black and white. Am I invited to the party? Always, Peyton. Always. Yes, we will not exclude anybody. This is equal opportunity. Bob, do you remember the episode where Woody Woodpecker hated cheesecake? That's the main reason why I don't like Woody Woodpecker. Woody Woodpecker is annoying. He is a peckerhead, indeed. I've never been a Woody Woodpecker fan. And then he laughs at you at the end, that obnoxious laugh. Cool, thanks. No problem. So let me see. I got to touch base with my Pontificator friends here and get this party going. Okay. So I gave a mandate. I said, "Hey, everyone, get in here." I could do the show alone. That could be fun. Joe M. Suntag, my new favorite YouTuber. Man, it's so cool. Like Comicsgate, it's like there's layers to things. There's so much going on. I finally got to meet Joe and hang out on his YouTube channel. A lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. Joe's a good guy, and he's a pretty good artist too. He's got some chops. We got El Gargoyle in the house. Woody Woodpecker was on the spectrum. Indeedy do. That was all cartoons from the 40s and 50s. I think so. I think they made some later Woody Woodpecker cartoons too, if I'm not mistaken. So, Yeah, hey, no problem. And Joe's quite a lead screamer, man. He's pretty badass. I like your stage presence, dude. Pretty killer. Okay, well, the subject matter, it may just be me. I don't know. It may just be me. We'll see. So there's been a lot of talk about like fan interaction and creative people not being too cool with their audience. So case in point, the Kevin Smith stuff that's going on right now, where you know he's lying to the fan base, he's deceiving them, and the thing I found the most insulting out of it, I'm not even a He-Man fan or a Kevin Smith fan, is that he said that he talked to Netflix and that he was a little concerned. This is Kevin Smith. He said he was a little concerned about the backlash. And then Netflix said, it's 5 to 10,000 people. He said, with the subscribers we have, it's a drop in the bucket. It doesn't really matter. It's not that big a deal. So don't worry about it. And I just thought, like, okay, don't worry about it. This is 5 to 10,000 hardcore fans that are so passionate about it that they're contacting you, that they're speaking out, they're trying to get resolution, they're trying to figure stuff out. They care. If they didn't care, they wouldn't be contacting you. They wouldn't be saying anything. They would just be complacent in it. So I think that it's weird when we have people that are like that if people speak out, they don't listen to them. They just kind of ignore it or hold those people in contempt. Like, well, what do they know? You know, we have all these other people over here. Who cares about this 10,000 people? Well, the thing is, Netflix, you might have all these subscribers. You might have all these people that like or subscribe to your network, but they might not all be He-Man fans. For all you know, there might only be 10,000 He-Man fans. So you've excluded all 10,000 of those people, the entire fan base. You don't know. So I just think we need to get back to just treating people with respect. I think it's pretty crazy. Was it Sony with Sonic the Hedgehog that put out a trailer? There was a lot of backlash for the design. It didn't look like the original video game character. So Sony, went back and retooled it and reworked it and then put out a new trailer. And sure enough, it was better. The fans respected the fact that they did this, and the movie was a success. It probably wouldn't have been any other way. And I do believe it's Sony Columbia that just dropped the Ghostbusters trailer. And I absolutely love the trailer. I did a show on it this morning. I had to because it was so good. And there's been some other YouTubers that have commented as well. What is it? The Critical Drinker actually was a little apprehensive, as we all are, but he managed to say like that he's hopeful about it. He said that the trailer looks good. And that's what I've been mostly hearing is the trailer looks good. And it would be nice if Sony learned from Sonic, and they learned from the first Ghostbusters, or the last Ghostbusters, I should say, the woke busters, who are you going to call? And maybe they figured it out. Maybe they just went, we're tired of not making money. I mean, at the end of the day, that's how are you going to keep making movies if you can't generate income? And if you keep pissing off your fan base, at some point, you're not going to have a fan base, and you're not making new product to create a new fan base. So if you guys were actually creating original IP, then you could actually develop, a new fan base, and then you don't have to worry about holding the old fans, in contempt. You can just move forward And then in 20 years or however long it takes, then you can hold those new, those original fans in contempt when you reboot the stuff that you're making now. I don't know. I just think it's really a drag. Hey Joe, would you like to come in? Maybe I'll recruit some new people. That's how this show started. Actually, I just started sending out invites to people in the chat to get their points of view. So I'm going to do it just in case. And so maybe Joe Suntag would like to come in here and hang out and add his 2 cents. After all, that's what this show is about. So let's see. Just sent it out, Joe. Let's see. Yeah, the new Ghostbusters trailer does look really good. I'm very, very hopeful. No way Bugs ripped off Oswald. Is Oswald the Disney character, the rabbit? I don't think so either. I don't think Disney could create a character like that. I think Bugs just has like a really sharp wit and sarcasm. I just don't think Disney has characters like that, or would even create characters like that. I'm waiting for the bait and switch. You're talking about Ghostbusters. It still could come. I mean, there is some built-in stuff to the trailer, ways that they could definitely go in the woke direction, but a mixed race couple, because there's that infatuation between the young girl and the kid from Stranger Things. So they could do that. They could virtue signal how great they are that they got like a mixed race group, coupled together. Or they could just make it matter of fact and just shut the hell up, which is what they should do. Because that's how life works. People are attracted to people. And sometimes they don't see color. They just go and I love this person. So those things do happen. But you don't have to virtue signal about it. And then, there's the little girl that's the smarty pants. So, they might turn her into a know-all and, she could maybe become obnoxious, type of thing. And then what else was there? There was something about, I think the Stay Puft Marshmallow thing was fan service for sure, but I'm hoping that it has a good place in the structure of the story, that it doesn't just feel like, that they just shoehorned it in to sell, merch. Because, that would be awful. I hope that it feels like it feels legit. It feels like there's a reason for it. And if they can do that, I think it would be perfect. Past Master Dan, Oswald was created by Walt Disney, and they stole his idea. So Disney moved to California, and on the way, he saw a mouse that gave him the idea for Mickey. Yeah, it was like Mortimer Mouse or something. And then, thank goodness, his wife was like, let's call it Mickey. Mortimer is horrible. And I think if we would have called him Mortimer, I don't think that character would have stood the test of time at all. So Hatch 450 SX. It's still under control of California. Don't trust it. What is under the... what are you guys talking about? I gotta read this. I'm going back in the chat, but the green laser says, for each person that says something, that represents an actual 1,000 people where the others say nothing but feel the same way. So what green laser is saying, so for every one person that speaks out, there's 1,000 people that feel the same way. So if there's 10,000 people, then that's a shit ton of people that are speaking out, Kevin Smith and Netflix. I don't, it seems counterproductive to even say these things out loud or to talk about the fan base like that. I just think it's really weird. Let's see what Past Master Dan says. Oh, sure. Bring in more hair-enabled people. So by that remark, Past Master, does that mean you are Follically challenged. Is that what that means? So we got D Geek Art. How are you? D Geek and I are working on some T-shirts together, and they're coming out fantastic, fan-frickin-tastic. So Bugs was cross-dressing in the 40s. That was so progressive. Oh yeah, I heard this. This is bad news. Yeah, Dusty Hill, bass player from ZZ Top, passed away at 72. That's pretty up there for a rocker. So he had a good run. So R.I.P. Dusty. See you on the other side. So let's see. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, all the Warner Brothers characters kind of have this like a street level like savvy to them. I think that's why they feel more contemporary too. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Oh, so you didn't like Ghostbusters? I have no interest either way. I saw the original in the theater. Two was okay. I'll pass. I thought the first Ghostbusters was pretty good. Holly Weird, I agree. Oh, you said you loved the original. I have no interest either way. I saw the original. Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks for the clarification. Yeah, the first one was good. The second one was okay. It was pretty much the first story with a twist, like there's a kid involved. I thought that was a little odd. Pastmaster Dan is still on the Bugs Bunny. People loved Bugs more than Oswald, and Oswald faded fast. Yeah, I think Disney got ripped off. I think they stole like the company he was working for stole it from him. Yes, both of you. Tila is my new hero. Tila is no one's hero, my friend. Let's see. He belongs on EVS's Shiny Dome stream. Oh, there's a follically challenged joke in here. Popeye was a salty dog. Popeye was badass. I dig Popeye. Good question. I'll show it to you. Your Spidey? Yes. So there was a series. I think there were 4 of these. I always wanted to do, because I studied illustration, so I always wanted to do a TV guide cover. So I eventually got to do a TV guide cover. So this is Mark Bagley's pencils, my inks, and there were 4 different covers. Each one had a similar background. So all the backgrounds connected, and each one of the covers connected. So there were like 4 different Spider-Mans. So yeah, thanks for letting me share that. So that was definitely a high point. And also I did a X-Men like little teaser comic book for the first X-Men movie. So I did that with Salvador LaRocca, and I think Chris Claremont wrote that. So that's probably a collectible right there. Vigo the Carpathian. Yeah, they're bringing back the original villains. And I do think like the original villains have potential because of the way they set them up or set the villain up. In Dee Doo. Early Popeye was great. Please drink some alcohol. Well, with nobody else in here, I might need to start drinking. This is actually kind of weird. Let me check again. Let's see what's going on here. This might be a very short stream. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to get on topic again, and then see if we can kind of get into this. I wanted to see what other people's takes on this was, because I did talk a little bit about this on my live streams the last couple of days about just fan service. No, 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 no. That was last night. That was last night. To be honest, I don't dare drink because I'm on. We got a new dog, a little puppy, and so the puppy only sleeps 2 hours at a time, and then we have to go and take him outside so he can use the restroom or do his business. So I've been on like this crazy sleep schedule. So what Bob's talking about? Wait, was it Bob? Who was it? The Beam. No. Wait. Here it is. The Beam Pad said your shirt was inside out. So my shirt was inside out this morning on this morning's stream, and it was backwards. So it wasn't just inside out; it was backwards. So I had a shirt by my bed. So every time I get up, and walk the dog, I just put the shirt on. So apparently, it was on backwards and inside out. And so I just did the stream. I wanted to do it really quick. I wanted to get in there and share my enthusiasm for the Ghostbusters trailer. And it just didn't work out, man. It just didn't work out. So I think it was Past Master Dan brought it to the chat's attention. And it's just one of those things, man. Things happen. These are live. Obviously, things happen. Get drunk, hang out with us. I think all I have downstairs is just I forget what it's called, but it's like this margarita. They're like I don't know the brand name, but it's a margarita, kind of pre-mixed margarita. But I wish I had more here because no one else has come in here yet. Let's see. All right, so we're a half hour into this. So this is turning into a hangout stream. So I'm completely fine with that. We can improv. You guys are always fun to hang out with. He's humming and looking around. Yes. Yeah, that's like my my stall music. Yeah, I do like the stall thing when I hum. All right, let's see what D Geekart has to say. I don't know. I've heard a lot of negative things about the new He-Man, and I saw Kevin Smith ever so lovingly call out his fans on Twitter and basically said, "If you don't like it, F off." Yeah, that's kind of the thing. This is my observation on all this, not just the fan thing, but this whole woke thing. It's like, okay, so let's just back up. Let's just illustrate this whole thing. Okay, so Netflix hires Kevin Smith to do He-Man. Okay, fine. Okay, then they say, do your take on He-Man. Maybe some mandates, maybe some woke mandates. Maybe like what we would like to do is take He-Man down a notch, and we want to kind of put the spotlight on Tila. So maybe there was some corporate mandates. Maybe there was an overview from somebody. So then Kevin Smith goes and he writes his overview for the show, and then they start working on this thing together. But at this point, when you go, okay, let's take out the lead character, He-Man, that's what the show's called, the Masters of the Universe. You take him out, you kill him in the first episode, and you don't even set it up properly. You just kind of, from what I hear, you just kill the character. So then you think like, okay, you did this. You didn't think anybody was going to get upset. You didn't think any fans of He-Man that were tuning into the show because it was called He-Man. It's a new He-Man show. Hey, I like He-Man. I'm going to watch this new show. So you don't think that people are going to be a little bit put off when they find out that you killed their favorite character? How did you think this was going to play out? Like, you're so naive that you didn't realize that killing off the lead character was a bad idea? Let's launch a Superman movie. Oh, Superman dies in the first 5 minutes. What the hell, man? That is a betrayal. That you have a promise. You call it He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That's what you called the show. You didn't call it, the fate of He-Man or He-Man's Last Stand or You didn't call it Tila's Adventures or anything like that. You called it He-Man, the Masters of the Universe. So there is a promise. There is a promise made that He-Man is going to be a show about He-Man. And so when people found out that there was a switch in bait, He-Man is not going to be the lead character in the show. It's going to be Tila. Then you act like, hey, you guys, stop being a bunch of babies. Why are you doing this? They knew. They're not stupid. They knew going into this that they were going to piss people off, but they did it anyway. That's the thing about this. Like, you can't go, oops, they screwed up. They didn't screw up. This was conscious. They were aware of this decision, and they made it anyway. So, then there's backlash, and then they act like, hey, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? It's called He-Man. He-Man's not in the show. That's the big deal. That's the initial thing that they did. And then, doubling down and then, not treating the fans the way they should, and then speaking out against them. You did this. You did this. How did you think it was going to play out any other way? There was no other way it was going to play out. The only thing I can think of is like, it might be genius in the sense like, remember New Coke? So they took off old Coke off the market and they replaced it with an inferior like Pepsi version of Coke, right? So everybody hated it. And so, the expectations were way down, right? So everybody's like, oh, we hate this. We hate this. So then they bring back the original Coke, make it a big marketing campaign, and then their stock goes to the roof. Well, they diminished expectations. They gave you an inferior product, and then they gave you the original back. Like it was a big deal. Well, I think it was a marketing ploy, to be honest. And if it was sincere, it turned into a marketing ploy, and it worked in their favor. So they killed He-Man twice. That's what I heard. Yeah. Hire a man lately known for crying while watching a cereal commercial. Yeah, from what I hear, Kevin Smith is a little bit emotionally unstable at this point. But this was the networks too. This wasn't just Kevin Smith. This was the networks too. And then Kevin spoke for the networks with that 10,000 thing. Like, oh, it's only 10,000 fans. Well, one of you guys in the chat pointed out for every one of those fans, that's 1,000 different people that feel the same. So it's not just 10,000 people. And also, if it was just 10,000 people, that's still 10,000 people. Why would you want to fuck over 10,000 people? Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't know. Listen to the fans. Listen to the audience. Figure out what they want. Especially something like this, like an IP that's already established. Like He-Man's been around for a long time. It's not that hard. Start listening around, start asking people, talk to people, see what kind of stories they want, see what the characters that they like. Just do some market research, for goodness sake. I mean, would it kill you? You have billions of dollars at your disposal. Do some market research. Find out what people want. If you're going to reboot these shows and you're going to keep doing this, that's what you have to do. And if you're going to rebrand the show, if you want Tila to be the character and you want to do away with He-Man, then just be honest about it. That's all. Don't betray people. Don't call it He-Man when it's not a He-Man show, when it's the Tila show. That's all. How dare they act like it's us, like it's the fans, it's the audience that have the problem. You created the problem, you knew what you were doing, and then when people act exactly the way they're going to act, you start going, oh shit, why, how did this happen? Exactly. Exactly what you were doing. You got a rise out of people. Congratulations. But you know what? Outrage and internet hits, they don't equate dollars. They just don't. So you need money. You need capitalism. You need to generate funds so you can keep alive, so you can keep afloat, so you can make new product. That's it. That's how it works. There's no exception to this rule. This is how it works. You could try to redesign and remake things, fundamental hope and change, right? We have hope and change. We have a great system here. We have a great system of commerce. Capitalism is fair. Capitalism is equitable. I heard, what is it? Dennis Prager. I think it was Dennis Prager said. He said, you know why capitalism is fair and equitable? He said, because in the exchange, when you have the exchange, you have the person that has the product that's selling it, and then you have the person that wants the product that's buying it. In this exchange, each party thanks the other one for their contribution. When you go to a store, they say thank you, and then you say thank you back. Why is that? Because it's mutually beneficial. You weren't forced to do that. You weren't forced to buy that product. There was no gun to your head. There was nothing like that. You did it voluntarily. You thought it was a good product at a good price, so you paid for it. That's it. That's it. Capitalism, when it's bastardized, when people take advantage of it, when people, misuse it, then it's bad. But all those things are self-evident. When you misuse it, when you are self-serving with it, all those things. When government gets involved, when they regulate it, that becomes unfair competition. When the government comes and bails out banks, when the government come in and bail out the auto manufacturers, this let them die. No one cares about my business. If I go out of business tomorrow, the government is going to help me. So what's the difference? Oh, you don't employ hundreds of thousands of people. Well, if Chevy went out of business, guess what? There's another automobile manufacturer that would step up. They would buy that business out, and then they would make cars. I guarantee you, because that's how this works. See a need, fill a need, right? That's it. But when you artificially stimulate it, or you do these type things, it's always it's the government that's coming in. The government are the ones that are bastardizing capitalism. There are some rich people that know how to wiggle out of certain things. There are corrupt people. There are bad people. But it's not the system. It's the people that are abusing the system. It's like, I'm tired of that argument. Like guns are bad. Guns aren't bad. There are bad people that do bad things with the guns. But the guns aren't bad. It's evil people. So we used to know these things. The world is going crazy. I can't really believe it. But back on the fan thing, they knew exactly what they were doing with He-Man. They did it, and now they're acting like, oh, how did this happen? You created it. And then this is I just think, as far as a creative idea, isn't this already effed out? Like replacing the male lead with a female lead. Haven't we already seen this played out? Haven't we? This is already a trope. This is a cliche at this point. This isn't new. This isn't original. This isn't even interesting. This is a cliche. This is a trope. Hollywood just created another cliche and trope. So at this point, when you do these things, you're the cliche. Nobody's going, oh my gosh, that's cool. No one's saying that. No one's going, you know what? I would much rather have He-Man gone and Tila to take his place. Nobody ever said that. Like, it just didn't happen. So I really don't. These things are just perplexing to me. But you can't yell foul when you create an inferior product, which is what they're doing. They're creating an inferior product and then blaming the consumers. How and why? Create a great product. Give the people what they want. Give them quality. Give them good merchandise. Give them an entertaining experience. And trust me, you'll get way more out of it in the long run than you will with any of these things. It just boggles my mind. I don't I don't clearly understand it, because without commerce, without the money, they're just going to go belly up. These companies are going to go belly up, and maybe they'll scratch their heads. Maybe they'll go, "Oh, how did this happen?" Because that's what you created. You created this. This is self-fulfilling prophecy. You guys are creating this wokeness. There is the get woke, go broke. That's what happens. It's a true statement. You can fight it all you want, but I don't really know of any clear example of a woke reboot that has done well. Maybe somebody in the chat, let me know. Is there somebody that's done this and that it's done well? I can't think of any off the top of my head. Just to be fair, let's see if there is any. Let's see. He sacrifices himself to save the power of Eternia, but it's not a setup properly. And then at the end of the episode, he returned he returned, say the magic word, and get stabbed by Skeletor. No Herman for episode 2 to 5. Yeah, I think I understand that. Yeah, that's what I heard. And then Kevin Smith, he was like swearing on his child's life. Who does this? It's freaking He-Man. It's a cartoon. If I'm lying, strike my kid, or whatever he said. That's crazy. That's win at all costs. That's doubling down in the most absurd ways. I wasn't lying, Oh my gosh, dude. And then when you're talking about like sacrifice, like He-Man did the ultimate sacrifice, and then you bring up Jesus Christ. What's wrong with you, man? Dude's got a screw loose. I'm sorry, man. He's got a screw loose. D Geek Art. Maybe with Talia is that, or Tila in the lead, they can call it She-Man. Yeah. Why didn't they just do that? You're like do this, like it like comes up on screen. It says He-Man, and then scratches out, and then she shows up. She, master of the universe. Yeah. For sure. We're gonna get the Publishing Pete. So it'll be the Publishing Pete RT Bear show. The Beam Pad says, I prefer the original He-Man. So in my eyes, he never dies, and Tila is a hot barbarian. Yeah, that's another thing too. Like that's the cliche or the trope, right? Where they turn the female into a male. Like there's no femininity. Like there's no strength in femininity, right? The only way women can be strong is to have the attributes of a male. That's not true. Most women in the world don't want to become a man. Most women are pretty satisfied that they're female. They don't go, oh, you know what? My life would be so much better if I was a guy. I don't think they think like that. I think they're proud to be a woman. But that's kind of this modern feminism. And actually, like even, earlier feminism was like, but I think there was a reason too. Like they wanted to compete against men so that they could get these jobs, so that they could prove themselves in the workforce, that they were as good as men. So then they took on the attributes to compete against them in business. But there was a reason for it, and it existed for a specific reason. But those reasons don't really exist now. There's a lot of HRs. If there's a woman that doesn't feel like that she's getting her fair share in the workplace, or being looked over for promotions or whatever, she can air her grievances. She can talk to HR. She can say things. So they do have a voice. Like women have a voice, as do everybody in the company. So if that isn't working, then there's a problem with HR, then there's a problem with the company. But it's not automatically sexism. It's not automatically those things. It could just be a communication breakdown. It could just be a misunderstanding. There's a lot of different reasons why those things can happen, but it doesn't automatically mean sexism. So at this point, I think it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that women can do most of the stuff as well as men. And the reason I qualify it with most things is like there is a physical aspect to men and women that is undeniable. Men are usually stronger than women. So physical jobs, I think, become a little tougher for women to do. I'm not saying they can't do it. Of course they can do it, but it's just not as easy for them. And so there are and there's just interest too. Like most women don't have interest in those things. So there are kind of more male dominated jobs just because men are more interested in those jobs than women are. But it's not sexism. It just means that men are more interested in certain things as women are more interested in others. So there are female dominated work oriented jobs as well. So the thing is, where's the sexism? So when they start turning these female characters into men, I just think like that's lazy writing at this point. And also just it's a trope. It's a trope. It's just not that cool. So it's kind of like where comic books, even Jeff Johns did this. The great Jeff Johns is where they would tear down the most powerful character to make one of the weaker characters look more impressive. So if it was a Justice League story, they would tear Superman down, or they would bring him down a notch, or they would take him out of the story somehow so that the other character could shine. And I just think if you buy a Justice League story, you don't want to see Superman torn down. You want to see Superman be Superman. You want to see him kick ass, as you want to see the rest of the Justice League kick ass as well. So I think it's lazy writing in the sense that it's harder to write a story where all of the heroes are equal as far as what they contribute to the battle, right? So you can have a character that's not as strong as Superman, but still actually contribute something just as important to the fight. It's just not the same. It's just not, it's just not done like Superman. But they don't understand that. So I used to hate like the Fantastic Four, where they would always weaken Ben Grimm. Usually it was always Ben Grimm. It wouldn't be any of the other three, because he's the powerful, he's the toxic male, in the group. And so they would tear him down a little bit to make the villain more powerful, so the villain could look more powerful, when the villain should take down all of them, not just one. But that's how they do these things. Just make a more powerful villain. That's all they have to do. So let's see. He-Man was just in the promo, and they took it off for the show. Oh, okay. So maybe they're starting to try to rebrand it a little bit. Maybe they are feeling the pressure. That's Netflix, by the way. The move was so good that the show didn't even last 5 days in Netflix top 10. Wow. Maybe if they start losing enough money, maybe if they start, these things start happening, they'll get the gist. That's, I'm doing the music again. We got Sketch Therapy in the house. We got Danger Vanessa. What's up, Danger Vanessa? El Gargoyle. Yeah, all the MMA fighters. Yeah. More likes than viewers. Art's the man. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. We may have a show here after all. Pete Cimetti said he'd come in, and Pete is like 10 men. So it'd be like having 10 people in this situation here. There he is. Speaking of 10 men, did you hear my intro to you, Pete?
No, I'm sorry.
I said you are like 10 men. So we don't need the rest of the pontificators. We got Publishing Pete. So you'll make up for the rest of the pontificators here.
All right, where is everybody tonight?
I have no idea. I sent out like an early warning, like, hey, is everybody on board? And I got a lot of yeah. And then Bob, Comic Book Bob, had to work, so he was called in. So I understand that. But everybody else, who knows? Who knows? I don't. Yeah.
No life, just like us.
Yes. Yeah, we're the only two that have time to spare. We're probably the busiest guys in comics.
So what's up? What's going on tonight?
Yeah, well, what's going on tonight is we were going to discuss how to treat your fan base and why possibly this is happening. And mainly, this is all, it's been, around for a while, but, the new Kevin Smith situation, it's just got me thinking about it more. And kind of what Comicsgate is all about, where it is trying to listen more to, the audience and give them a product that doesn't insult them and that gives them their money's worth. And I know with Alterna and
no, Art. What you have to do with the fans, you have to insult them at every turn, put them down, say awful, horrible things about them, blame them for every bad decision you make and some. That's what you have to do. I mean, did you miss the memo?
was that circulating around the Comicsgate green room? Piss on the fan base, number one. Yeah, there's a top 3 things that you do, and then deny any lies that you've made, publicly, even though there's tweets that actually show that you have lied. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Maybe you did get the memo. Okay.
I just can't do it. I can't do what the memo instructs me to do. So I'm going to be a rebel here, and I'm going to try to give the fan base a good product at a good price. That's my thing. Yeah.
All right. I mean, well, if you don't want to be a pro, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll still talk to you. It's all right.
We'll still socialize, but at an arm's distance. Arm's distance. So how you been, man?
I've been good. Really good day today. After months of just battling with various hurdles in terms of getting new comics printed, we finally found a new printer, a really good printer in terms at least of customer service. So we actually today sent all the files to them, and they're ready to go. Should have new books in hand in like a month. So I can't wait for that. I can't wait for the very patient and vigilant readers that we have, that they could finally get these comics. They've been waiting for so long. All the nonsense of 2020 and the first half of 2021, I'm hoping that with this printer will all be behind us.
Yeah, I'm hoping as well. I've already seen it here in Texas. There's a lot of shortages because we just bought this house. There's maintenance. There's things that we want to do. And so it's either going to cost you way more money, like 3 times the amount that it would have, pre-COVID, just as far as like wood, like raw supplies, or they just don't have the supplies right now. So you're going to, go on a waiting list. So, this is going to probably affect just about everybody's business down the line, at least for the next year. I predict into 2022 that we're still going to be feeling these ripple effects as far as the shortages and things like that.
Yeah, you got to roll with the punches right now and find ways to adapt, and other ways too to make money off of the things that you've done in the past, or find new ways to bring in revenue. Because right now it's to depend upon solely just putting out new product, and that's going to be your main money maker. You're going to find in a lot of ways it's grinding to a halt, and you've got to wait or just even stop with certain things because everyone's got to wait along that supply chain. So it's been an interesting year, but whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we found a lot of different ways to adapt, and I'm grateful for the support and the patience of the readers, because without them, forget about it. We wouldn't even be here right now.
For sure. Hey, where do you chime in on Mixum? I had my own experiences with them. Have you ever used them as a printer?
No, I've heard so and so things about them. It's every printer. I've used so many over 15 years. Every printer has their pros and cons. But no, I've not heard anything in terms of Mixum in like a really bad way. I've heard stuff from you. I've heard stuff from a couple, but I've also heard stuff from other people where they really like dealing with them too. So
right, yeah. There's the extreme, and everything in between. Yeah, I was just wondering, if you have used them in the past and how you feel about them. You gave me some great advice when I was having problems with printing for chrono mechanics. Is you said that even though you've had relationships, like long-term relationships with these printers, things still happen. So because I think I was telling you, like, I just want to find a printer and I just want to just trust them and just send it out and just they know what I want and all that stuff. And then you're saying it's really never going to happen. You always have to be vigilant. You always have to like be on top of this stuff, because even the same printer, things will vary, from time to time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the case of what we just went through, the printer that we were just using, they had a massive and really quick turnover of employees. So we'd be talking to someone new that was handling our account every 2 months or so. And it's, then they don't know what the heck it is you want. And then with some printers, they're used to dealing with certain kinds of materials. So then it turns into, do they actually really understand how to handle what it is that you're doing, or do they just handle it like they've been handling every other account? So when it comes to newsprint, most of that stuff is going to be flyers and throwaway items and things like that. So they're not really aware of, these are for resale, and not just for resale, but condition matters. So can you at least approach it in a way that makes us feel comfortable and that we could trust in what you're doing?
Right.
And some printers, they get it. Some printers, they don't. A couple printers I dealt with over the years when I was looking for new single issue printers, they were talking about bundling and strapping up the issues, like bundles of 50 and just like zip tying them kind of. I'm like, these aren't newspapers.
Right.
And they didn't even understand the concept of putting them in boxes, packing them nicely. They want to arrive here in perfect shape, at least as close to as perfect shape as possible. There's always a couple damaged copies per box. That's the norm. But this printer, I talked to them, and they're telling me, we're going to special order these boxes for you. They're going to be double walled. We want to make sure everything is there and it's perfect. And I'm like, oh, they get it. I don't even have to say,
right.
Well, could you please, handle these things correctly? So that was a relief that at least we were on the same wavelength, that these things should be treated as such.
Yeah, and most printers actually overprint anyway. So if there are some damaged books, usually the overprinting will compensate for that. But I want to say hi to Zach.
Hey,
how are you, Zach? What's up? Uh-oh, no Zach voice. Even when Zach does talk, no one can hear him.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. Yeah. StreamYard likes to switch it to like a different output every time. Anyway, what I'm saying is I'm an hour late. I didn't know you were starting at 7. And I wouldn't have worked out. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I would have been here an hour ago.
Yeah.
Hey, Zach, who did you print with for?
I went with Book Baby. Have you ever heard of them?
No. Is it local here in Texas or where?
No, it's in the U.S., but it's not in Texas.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that when I printed, I had an American printer. I didn't want to do any overseas, any weirdness. And and they did really good. I've had 2 books printed through them, and both of them are really, really good. Which is this one. Got the Golma. It's all nice.
Wow, that's great.
You know, and their colors and everything are really vibrant. You know,
Nice.
So it's like, and they're really high quality, like this thick. Like I think these are like 80 pounds. Yeah, I think they're 80.
Sturdy stock, just like RT Bear.
Yeah, sturdy. But
Well, I was going to ask you, both of you guys, now that we have Zach in, when you print, do you guys get those settings? Like, say you get the print job back and you absolutely love it. Do you ask for those settings so then the next time you go to print, you use those same settings? Or is Pete, you have a wide variety of different artists that you print with, right? So you can't really have one setting that will work for all the books, or do you?
Well, it's up to us. It's the pre-press on our end. So we make sure everything is fine, and then it goes to print on their end. On their end, it has to be to spec with whatever their machinery is capable of and what it demands. So it is basically like that. Now, if you're dealing with different kinds of books, different formats, different sizes, different page counts and whatever, things like that could change, but most of what we print's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, because different paper stock reacts differently to printed, to being printed. So everything can be different just based on paper stock as well. But what I think I'm going to do, since it's just me and I have a preference, is once I find that sweet spot with the printer, I'm going to get those specs, and then I'm just going to pretty much ask them to print, always to these specs.
And the thing is, though, is like part of it with this was it's a beautiful book. It came out beautiful. But there was like the only problem is that it printed very dark. Like you can see the colors because the camera can see the colors, but if I'm looking at it, it looks pitch black.
Is it very different from your monitor?
Yeah, it's really different. But I think that's a me problem though. Like I didn't lighten up the pages well enough, because I knew I was going to print darker, so I did lighten them up. I just didn't lighten them up like enough, and also I didn't use there's no actual blacks. I don't use black usually in any of my work. And so that's
racist. You can't.
I don't know. But like, I always use, complementary colors and other things, like other tricks to make it look dark,
Right.
But a printer doesn't know that. So what it does is it will then layer on, instead of using black ink, it'll layer on all the colors on top to try and make it that dark. So that's the problem.
It sounds like you might have like a total ink coverage problem.
Yeah.
You want to keep your total ink coverage around like 240 or so.
Yeah.
If you're using all the other colors really to make a black, it sounds like you're using a lot of ink. And what's going to happen is that dot gain on certain papers, it's not going to absorb. It's going to become like this spread out kind of a thing. It's going to get muddy. Do you have a 4-color printer at home, like an Epson or anything like that?
That thing right there.
Do you ever test it? Do your own little mini proofs at home and test it out?
I never thought of doing it that way, because I always thought that would it wouldn't be an accurate.
It's not 100%, but it will give you an idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a fan here, Zach.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've noticed the same. So there's also a difference between like when they do the printing with they have the offset, and then they have where they print from the computer. Is that what it's called? Like just computer printing?
Well, I mean, they all print from the computer at this point. Like, there's all software and stuff being used. I think you mean the difference between digital printing and offset and sheet fed, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, so the digital printing versus the offset. The offset is always going to print darker, which I found out. And so because usually they'll do the proofs digitally. And so I found out, that the proofs digitally are almost exactly what my files that I sent them based on my computer.
Very close to your monitor, yeah.
The offset is always darker. So, and then I realized that the price break is better with the offset. So you always go with the offset. They can print more, they can print it faster and all that. So I'm probably going to do like what you're talking about, Zach, where I'm gonna set the files. I'm going to desaturate them a little bit. I'm going to take away some of the intensity of it in hopes that it won't print as dark or muddy.
Well, I don't think desaturate. I wouldn't say desaturate because all your files are in CMYK, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't desaturate. What I would do is I would just go through the books that you have right now, and then look for any spot that is like, oh, that just came out too dark. And go to that spot and then figure out go to the values. And figure out like where you could set the value so that that spot is at a proper value. So when it prints the way you want it to. Because that's the way I'm going to have to do it, is because a lot of it came out perfect, exactly the way there was just like, I'd say 10 pages out of it.
Right.
Just printed out and they're like just so dark. And I'm like, it's supposed to be dark. It's not supposed to be that dark.
So now you know the warning signs.
Yeah, I know that for the next run though, because I'm going to use the same printer, that I'm just going to go through the pages, and for those specific pages, I'm going to I'm not going to put the lightness up because it'll desaturate it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the values slightly so that way, like my lighters are light and my darkers are dark. So it just like pulls them apart, because right now, as what Pete said, is I'm getting this muddy effect where they kind of blend together, the lights and the darks, so it's not like this nice contrast of, I would at least like the contrast of the forms and the shapes and whatnot, and I'm not getting that. So what I'm just going to do is just going to kind of pull the values apart until I get them to a place where I'm like, yeah, at least when it prints it, if it prints this, at least if this part is really dark, that's fine, you can still see the thing that I want you to see, right?
So Zach, I have a question for you. Do you think Kevin Smith and these other people that insult their fan base put this kind of thought and consideration into their product?
No, you get a paycheck and then they say, I got my paycheck. I don't care.
Yes,
I don't care about
not for nothing though. But what version of Kevin Smith did people think was a good idea to make He-Man?
Yeah.
Which incarnation of Kevin Smith was the right choice?
I think they saw him on. He had that show. Remember that comic book thing?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then everybody was like, "Oh
version?
yeah, he's a comic fan."
No.
He's not a comic. Yeah, well, that's the thing that I think is very, very clear at this point, is that he's really not what he sold himself as being. This comic book fan person that knows all this stuff, loves it, and then he was also kind of this liaison to Hollywood. Like he knew comic books, he knew Hollywood, so he could kind of get everything to work together and all this other stuff. And it just really hasn't played out.
When did we decide that a pot smoking weird guy was going to be the ambassador to our fandoms? At what point did that happen? Because I was really okay with it when it was, what's his name? He's Superman. What's his name? Like he feels more legit and very humble about it, and he doesn't try to be a nerd, but he is. What's his name? The new Superman.
Henry Cavill, is that his name?
Yeah, he's very humble about it. He's not trying to go out his way to say I'm a nerd, because it's cool or anything. He's just, he's been doing these things since he was a kid, playing Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer and stuff like that. And but he's like, that's not who, like, I'm not trying to be an ambassador for it, but yeah, I know those things, it's cool. And Kevin Smith is like, I am the Nerd King. Look at me.
Worship
weed.
Yeah. I've never, just for the record, I never gave that to him. And also, I never found his stuff that entertaining.
Mm-mm.
I always just thought of it as like an East-West Coast thing. Like, I'm a West Coast guy. Maybe it's an East Coast type of humor that I just don't get. I always thought, like, what he was doing in the initial days where they were independent and they were on a budget, I thought they were, like, for what they were decent. But then with bigger budget stuff and everything,
mm-hmm.
I just think that, you know, he proved he really couldn't do it. I thought the biggest proof was in the Green Hornet when he got that gig, and then you know, it was going to be like $100 million budget and all this other stuff, and so then finally, you know, he had to put his money where his mouth is. You know, he had to actually deliver a good action adventure based on this pulp hero, this comic book hero. You know, and my thing is, I think the reason he bailed from it is because if it failed, his credibility would have went.
Which it did
away.
Which it did.
So the thing is, as soon as that happened, I was just kind of like, I think Kevin Smith is all about the brand of Kevin Smith. I don't think it's about the project. I don't think it's about anything other than Kevin Smith, because time and time again, it always comes down to one thing: Kevin Smith. You know what I mean? Like he'll create controversy or he'll do whatever, and then it just kind of helps build his brand. But other than that, I don't think he cares about Batman. I worked on a Batman project with him. I don't think he gave a shit about that. I've seen him do numerous, you know, projects, and it just doesn't seem like his heart's in it. So I think he just does things to get himself attention, to build his own brand. So but saying that, I think there are fans that like that brand and will follow it. But I think where he gets into trouble is, like you were saying, Zach, he heralds himself as this big, you know, king of fandom. And then, you know,
well, you know, when I picture Kevin Smith, attach him to a property, comics, whatever it may be, I would think more something like Lobo or something like that. That's a little more crass. It's a little bit more, you know, the humor is a bit in the gutter, it's great. I love Lobo. But in terms of, you know, He-Man and especially, I mean, is it supposed to be all ages? I would always think He-Man would be an all ages kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, just even seeing that clip that I had shared, that I had quote tweeted, somebody had shared it about Alan Oppenheimer talking about, for those that don't know, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do know in the chat, you know, Voice of Skeletor, Man at Arms. So he's talking about his experience with different fans and how this show, that he's met a bunch of people over the years where he said this show pretty much saved their life. They were having such a tough time as children, teenagers, whatever it may have been, and they were contemplating suicide. And they had seen episodes of the show that gave them strength. And he wasn't really that aware that it would have such an impact on them. And he was so eloquent and humble and all these things, and so much class, and it just exuded it. Kevin Smith does not exude any of those qualities whatsoever. Yeah. He shouldn't be anywhere near something that may shape the minds and morals of young people. It's I don't know. Mattel, whoever it is, whatever it was, what the heck are you guys thinking?
He was making anal jokes in front of my daughter at the San Diego Comic-Con. I
mean,
he's a piece for sure. Yeah.
But it just seems like the current trend nowadays is to play people out of position, and here's another one, you know, being played out of position. And then it shows also the way that he reacts with things, because even the whole thing that happened with Clownfish, he could easily just have shut up or been like, hey, just watch the show. Just watch the show.
Yeah.
You know, and then everything that's come along this whole way with everything else, he could literally just be like, guys, just give the show a chance. You know, I hope you like it.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy. Everyone's worked really hard, yada, yada. We got some great stories to tell. Please, you know, join us. If you don't want it, that's cool too. We get it. But please, you know, give us a shot. He doesn't have to blame anybody or fly off the rails or whatever, or be Mr. Hot Shot, but it's his ego. It gets in the way.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the ratings and everything wouldn't have been as bad as they are right now. It's like if he had just been like, you know, kind of like dumb about it and said like, yeah, you just watch the show and we worked hard and I hope you like it, instead of coming after the fans, you know what I mean?
Well, how much,
especially when this stuff gets like he leaks things, and then he has to backtrack, you know, and then he's like, he has no backbone, he has no
integrity,
exactly.
The thing is, but that's the brand. That's what I was trying to say with the brand, because it's just about the brand. So the product that he's working on, it doesn't even care. But I want to ask you guys, how much of it do you think came from Netflix? Because there was definitely there's agenda in this show, and then there was the crack that he let out, which if from my understanding about working in corporate America, you just don't say these things. But he said he had a conversation with Netflix, and that because he was a little concerned about the backlash, and then they said it's just 5 to 10,000 boisterous fans. We have so many more subscribers. It doesn't matter. And so it's not just a private conversation between Netflix and Kevin Smith, but now Kevin Smith is making this public. So now it makes you start thinking like, well, how much of this is just Kevin Smith driving the ship, or how much of it is Netflix as well? Because I know that Netflix, with the cuties, and I mean, they've done some questionable stuff in the past. So, I think all of Hollywood is flirting with wokeism and, and agenda. But how much of it do you think is actually Netflix, you guys?
If you're going to sign with Netflix, it's all Netflix, It really is. Like, they're the ones with all the money. You have to get everything approved.
Netflix went to Kevin Smith and said,
"No, I'm 100% certain that
man."
No, I'm pretty sure that Kevin Smith probably had it in his head that he was going to do just basically like a corny episode of He-Man, and he brought something that was a corny episode where it had Tila and him and Skeletor and everybody in it, kind of like an old episode, and Netflix probably was like, we should make Tila, have a stronger presence, and then he probably instantly folded and was just like, yes, give me money. Yes, give me money. It probably was more of a situation where, like, because I don't think that most of these writers, well, I don't actually nowadays, it feels like Kevin Smith would have made something corny, and then Netflix paid him more money to keep pushing a certain way, edit a certain way until Netflix basically forged it into what they wanted from what he had.
Does Kevin Smith have writing credits on these episodes? Does anybody know, or is he just like an exec producer or a showrunner?
That's a good question. Like, did he even help in the creative process at all?
Because you know how people think. Like, you know how people think Tim Burton wrote and did everything for Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's Henry Selick. It was mostly like Tim Burton's kind of, concept development wise, but then completely, I think he visited the set, I think they said once or twice during the whole thing.
Right.
I think they kind of got a showrunner in Kevin Smith, and then it turned into, Kevin Smith didn't necessarily, is he running the show? Maybe into the ground, but just to me, it's one of those things. If you're going to be the ambassador and the representative of that kind of property, not your own property either, because now if this was something that was purely his own thing, even if it was just a development, he was like, here's the story idea, here's the characters, and you guys run with it, and you can say Kevin Smith presents whatever the heck. Now, if he did that, it'd be a bit different, but his behavior and his reaction to the fans and everything is still off. And I think, honestly, that's the bigger conversation, because the show could be great. It could be crap, but either one doesn't really matter, because once it goes out into the world, it's no longer, as we all know, it's no longer really your thing anymore.
Right.
It's art for other people to enjoy, interpret, hate, whatever it is they want to do. They're going to do it, and they should be allowed to do such a thing. The worst thing that can happen, I think, as a creative person, is that there's no conversation that occurs about the work. It just happens. There's silence. It dies. No one even knew it existed.
Right.
I think that's honestly the biggest fear, more than people hating the work you're making, is that no one even cares what you're making. So getting someone like a Kevin Smith, he's boisterous. He's obviously, like you said, he's his own brand. He's his own thing at this point. Maybe they wanted that, but I don't know if necessarily they're aware of what they really are going to get. I mean, I can't imagine even that little snippet he did with the whole, Mattel paid me effing money to do this, and you don't think I'm going to effing put He-Man in the show? And that, I can't even imagine, like, any kind of backlash ever about anything, and publicly the showrunners go on air and they're like doing the same thing. I mean, imagine like Jim Henson or Stan Lee back in the day. It's all these kind of things of like, what's wrong with the modern entertainers and creators? It's like the ego is taken over everything, and there's no sense of service in a way of like, I'm entertaining. I'm here to entertain you.
Right.
And without you, I don't exist.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
I have absolutely no idea. It boggles my mind constantly. But I think my gut says that this was on high. I think that there were mandates from Netflix, and I think there was a parameter of what they wanted. And I think Kevin Smith was following that. Either that, or like Zach said, that he had an overview and then pitched it to them, and then they doubled down on the agenda idea. Because the thing is, I don't know how you could do this, and kind of back to what you were saying too, Pete, like how you could do this and not know what you're doing. Like Netflix knew what they were doing. They hired Kevin Smith. He's not going to give them the pure He-Man that you remembered when you were a kid. Like, that's just not what he does. So just by hiring him, they were already saying, let's flip the fan base off. You know what I mean? Like, let's shake some shit up. And then to kill like the main character, hasn't anybody learned? Like, it's,
well, you could still, and I don't know if I'm gonna just put a disclaimer here. I don't plan on watching the show. I haven't watched the show. To me, it's like whatever at this point. I mean, it's not necessarily about the show and the quality. It's about everything that's going on in terms of the reactions and between the fans and the creators of things. And this is just another example of it. If you enjoy the show, you're in the chat and you like it, great. If you don't, great. I got no dog in this fight as far as that goes. And I love He-Man. He-Man was a big part of my life as a kid. But I want to watch He-Man. Guess what? I pop in the DVDs and I watch some He-Man. Right. And that's about it. I could kind of care less about Kevin Smith's version. I could barely honestly even care about the 2002 version. I know a lot of people really love that. I've tried time and time again. I'm currently trying again to give it a shot and just have it on. And it's just not the same thing for me. That's cool. I get it. But some people love it. That's fine. But as far as this kind of thing goes, it's I think it's just a very weird thing for all of us to see when you've got this kind of mindset that they just automatically go, it's nostalgia. You just want the same things over and over again. No, people don't want like literally the same thing over and over again. They're not insane. Right. They want things that feel like it's respecting the heart of what it is that they loved, that it's not a betrayal. So you could have had He-Man killed. And again, I don't know if this is how it goes, but it's a fantasy world. You could have had He-Man have a counter plot with He-Man existing in some realm because he's enchanted, he's magical, he's got the sword, whatever it is. But He-Man is a magical being, and he's kind of protected in a way by the sorceress and by Grayskull. So you could have had him going through some kind of a nether world, making his way back, coming across old friends and foes along the way while they mourn him in the real world and avenge him. Meanwhile, Skeletor and all of his gang would be taking over Eternia at this point. Who's there to stop them? Instead, it sounds like that's not really what's occurring. So if I was telling the story, that's how I would have that. And you could have He-Man still be there and have that story run concurrently with the Teela plot. You know, who did it really well was an episode of the Justice League. I think it's Hereafter, I think it's called, when Superman's they think he's dead, but he's fast forwarded into the future with Vandal Savage. Savage now he caused the end of the world. He's been alive now for like 500 years alone. He's had a lot of time to contemplate that he was an evil guy. And now he's trying to make amends. Superman is not aware of that. And he comes to blows with Savage when he meets him, but learns eventually what's happened, and Savage gets him back in time. And everyone, they think he's dead. They think they're mourning Superman. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And then meanwhile, Superman, you have his story about how he's surviving and adapting and everything else that he's doing. So
but it's not, it doesn't become a switch and bait. It becomes like,
it becomes a nice,
like a what if, like what if Superman wasn't here anymore? Mm-hmm. Or what if He-Man wasn't here? What would the world be like without He-Man? What would the world be like without Superman? And those are fun stories to entertain. But like you said, at least what you explained, it's not like you're like going, oh, he's dead. you still have a storyline where he's there. The
Where
reader
he's-
still
yeah.
knows. It's not like a switch.
And the emotional impact, you can still see that occur with the characters that are living, that believe him to be gone permanently. There's no way to get him back. And while they're doing their thing, and they're way too busy taking care of, you know, the evil horde of Skeletor and so on and so forth, He-Man is doing his thing, trying to get back. And there's a way to create that story. But
it's two stories in one. It's
Yeah.
like you got your He-Man story, you know, you got that plot, and then you have like the what if, like what if he wasn't here? How would everybody, you know, react to that? Those are fun story ideas, man, and I'm all about those. So there's many different ways you can do this, but they didn't want to tell a good story. That's the whole point too. It's like what you're already saying is like this is story oriented, so everything's coming out of the story. This was not story oriented. This was definitely agenda oriented.
yeah, figure out a way, guys, to make Tila the star. And at that point, I'm then thinking, you know what's an interesting Masters of the Universe story to tell? Bring She-Ra in and make it all together for once.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
and then you got Skeletor and Hordak with the world where He-Man's dead. Oh boy.
Or then rebrand it at the end and say like if you did your He-Man storyline, your plot line running right alongside Tila or She-Ra or both, then at the end, then you spin off Tila and She-Ra as a show, you know, so you still have your He-Man and then you have this as well. I don't see any problem with that, and that seems like it has more potential for growth long term because, you know, you're expanding the universe now. So like you said, you're bringing She-Ra into that universe, and then you can kind of spin that off into a Tila She-Ra show or whatever it is, you know. There's many things you could do, but what I was saying earlier too, and this is so funny, that these ideas that Hollywood's throwing out there at this point, these are cliches and tropes. These aren't even original ideas. So you hired Kevin Smith to come up with what is already a Hollywood trope, right? Let's turn the male hero into a female character. Oh, that's not even creative. That's not even imaginative. That's nothing. That's a trope. That's a cliche, you know, at this point. So I hope he didn't make that much money off of it, because that idea is effed out. You know what I mean? Like that thing's been played to the death already.
Well, can we, story aside, can we talk a little bit about what is the deal with creating women characters that look like men? I thought the whole entire point of feminism was to respect and like have like that sort of, there's a woman and she's her own thing, she's different, and we should respect and be happy about that she is her own thing, you know? Instead, feminism, how they're pushing it is just like, be a man, woman needs to be the man, because now they have to actually like literally be a man. Like, did you see the edit where they took off the hair of She-Ra?
Yeah, that's supposed to be like a reveal. It's like, okay.
Oh no! Like someone edited it so it was like just bald instead of her having like a side. They made it so she was bald, and you could not tell that was a female character at all.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, like make them bald is more of a gutsy risk.
Yeah,
but it's just like, you know, like even the body shape and everything. It's like she was
Ripley,
like
G.I. Jane.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck? Why is she jacked like a man though? There's women that are jacked, and they look great. Their body doesn't change into a man's body just because they're jacked.
Right.
It really is annoying that they literally were like, okay, we're gonna take like Tila's head and we're just gonna put it onto a male's body, you know, and then that's what we'll do, you know.
Well, when I was talking earlier before you guys popped in, is that I think at one point like feminism was about like competing with the man for the same job opportunities. So like early feminism was like, well, we have to be as good as a man. We don't have to be a man, but we have to be as good as a man. So there was a certain level of having to prove yourself in the marketplace, right?
Yeah, it was
to be a viable candidate for the job. But then feminism evolved into like just being completely a man.
Yeah,
and that's where it gets into trouble.
And masculinity is be a woman. that's what they're pushing. There's toxic. Have you seen that? There's how to tell if your man has non-toxic masculinity. It literally is showing men doing things that women do. It's like if your man constantly cries, if your man obeys all your commands.
Where was this?
I forgot. I'll find it. And I'll put it in the. It's
do you think
horrifying.
Kevin Smith read that because he cries a lot these days?
Yeah. How to?
Yeah, he does cry. And it's always, if you're known for one thing, right? I have a real pet peeve about this. If 1,000 people are following you because you're a writer of movies, or you're an artist, or you're whatever, and then all of a sudden you're doing gym selfies and bathroom selfies in your underwear, and it's just really unbecoming of people when they just all of a sudden.
You don't need to look at my Twitter profile. It's okay.
Todd likes that kind of stuff, though. He likes to dig.
It's a real, like, even wounds. I don't need to see your wounds. I don't want to see that you messed up your finger in the chainsaw.
All right, it's in the
definitely not wise.
Some things are better private, right? Just leave them private. You don't
Absolutely.
have to share everything. Yeah.
There you go.
I got big. You know who John Ranch is, right? Colorist John Ranch. He was into. You don't know him? Really good colorist. Colors Nick Bradshaw a lot. Those covers that you see Nick does. But he got into CrossFit and flipping tires and stuff. He was doing all these bathroom selfies. I'm like, dude, nobody wants to see the pimples on your back because you're doing steroids. Boom. Oh my God. It started, like, everybody came at me. And I was just, messing around. Like, we're not here for that. We're here because you're a colorist, not to see your back. I don't care how big your muscles are.
So is this what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Seven signs that your man's masculinity is non-toxic.
He carries a tote bag. One's pro-environment, pro-feminism, and pro-reading.
Oh, well, this is coming from the New Yorker, whatever.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, this is what they're trying to push on people. You know what I mean? Like, this is an actual article.
Everyone
somewhere.
reading the New Yorker already is like this anyway. They're just preaching to the choir.
I know, but I'm just saying that like,
that's
like
a
the fact that this exists at all. It's just like it's the absurdity of it. The fact that it exists, it feels like there should be a Babylon Bee thing.
That guy looks like he's going to complain that he wishes he was taller.
Yeah. He doesn't even know how to carry a bag.
Look, his arm's inside.
Man,
his arm's inside of it. Yeah.
No Seinfeld fans on the panel, huh? No one's getting it. All right.
No one's getting it. I got it. I didn't get
it. He goes into the sports bar to use a bathroom. He buys a glass of white wine to be polite.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Isn't that something like a woman would do?
I know a guy that looks exactly like this. That's very unfortunate. But anyway, so he openly cries during Pixar movies, even the parts that aren't sad. Just beautiful. This is real. This isn't like a joke. Like, this isn't like a gag. This is real, right? This is legit.
Yeah, this isn't meant to be funny. That's my point. Is that there are people out there that, you know what I mean, that take this seriously, and that's disturbing. So they're trying to turn women into men and men into women. It's I don't get it.
Yeah. He laughs calmly when called a cuck. He laughs loudly when women are funny. He does not laugh when men are not. Oh my God! Who did these illustrations? This guy probably got paid more than I did, like a whole year's worth of work at DC Comics. Go ahead, Todd.
I got to be honest with you. How many years did we live on this planet where this kind of thought process never even entered our mind? I get there was that era of 70s and Gloria Steinem, but once I became a teen and an adult, this just didn't enter. It didn't come into my sphere. All this nonsense of this, and it's like now.
They're trying to attack. The overall agenda is they're trying to attack any sort of because when they look at masculinity, they see competition, and women are the most competitive creatures on this planet. Way worse than men, you know? Men, we get along. We will actually get along. It's like, hey, you like water? I like water. You're my best friend. Woman's like,
I don't get along with Todd.
No one gets along with Todd. Todd's like, you're not supposed to get along with Todd.
If we get invaded tomorrow, what kind of guy are you looking for? Right? If there was another
somebody
invasion,
that cries at Pixar movies, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways,
you're going to be
it's
looking
also
for that guy.
Competition. It's to push an agenda. We all know that Hollywood is owned by China. They're pushing this communistic sort of like stop trying so hard, stop being successful sort of mentality. They're trying to do this, and they're trying to put it into everything we see. And the best way to do it is through our culture, our media, our entertainment. If you want to change the way people interact, you change their culture, you know. And the United States, we used to be this culture of work your ass off, do everything you got to do to make things happen, to be successful, and your success is completely dependent upon one person, and that is you. You know,
how hard you are willing to work.
Yeah, and how hard. And now it's government handouts. It's free, gimme. You know. It's just
so you think a lot of this agenda stuff coming from Hollywood is coming from communist China?
100% at this point. There's no way they're not.
So they just conquer from within, weaken.
Yeah,
and then you're primed for the taking.
Yeah, because their biggest thing is they can't invade us because literally there are more guns per like square mile of any place in the world. Especially in Texas, you know. And I'm proud that I've got mine. You know, I've got my guns and stuff. So it's true. But it's, you know what I mean? They're trying to kill the culture, to push us down so that eventually we'll disarm ourselves and then they can come and take over. It's how a lot of like how they worked with a lot of other things that they've been able to take over, like Hong Kong and Taiwan and other things like that, you know, that they don't have to conquer you anymore. They could just take control by owning you, essentially. So
China has a big impact on our economy right now. It's almost inseparable. So that's
I'm sorry. I put us on this big tangent. Let's get back to comics and stuff. I don't want to get too crazy.
But yeah. So Todd, like, where do you chime in with fan baiting and like I was just using the Kevin Smith thing as an example, but I know there's a lot of other examples of, you know, like Rian Johnson with Star Wars, and, you know, a lot of different creative people just treating, you know, the fan base horribly. What was the Ghostbusters movie? I forget that director. You know, basically just blasting the fan base and stuff like that. So what is your take on this? Why do you think they're doing it?
I think social media has given everyone that ability to have the voice of outrage, right? So you take those things away, and we'd still be the way we were, where you think it, you don't say it, kind of a thing. And I think that's the crux of it, right? As far as how you should act, and there, trust me, I live by this model, but I see even people go, oh, I like so and so, he's a good artist, he's a good writer. They get away from this, and they get away from it on social media, right? You should think that what you have is a product that you want people to buy. And you should be like willing to sell a hamburger to a vegetarian on cheat day. You know what I mean? You should be as nice and as cordial. When people come at you with critique or criticism, it's, you know, I'm sorry that didn't hit you the right way. I will try harder next time. That's the motto I live by. You want to You want to stop the thing. Like, right when a child breaks a vase and mom comes in and says, who freaking did this? You say, I did it. It was a mistake. We were playing. Sorry. Boom, you cut her off. She's done. It's not going to be somebody's going to get whooped. I'll get the truth out of both of you. You know what I mean? It's not like that. You got to own it. So if you own
that's why they said the truth shall set you free. So you say the truth, and then that clears the air. These used to be things that people understood. They don't understand them anymore. So I understand, like let's just say, like, it is China, the agenda. So like, this is coming from Netflix. They have Chinese influence. Whatever it is. Okay, so then why are creatives then going along with it? So why did, like, let's just say that what's that? Fear
and money.
Yeah,
fear and money.
I'm gonna get run out. I'll get run out if I'm not going along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory about.
And I don't think you have to. I don't think you really have to, because I think people appreciate those people who don't go along to get along, but as long as they do the quality work.
Well,
yeah. Has Kevin Smith ever done a quality movie in his life? He's done movies that entertain, but would you go, wow, that's going to go in my top 10? Has he made one movie that would even make your top 50? So no,
I've never
going along to get along.
When stuff like this happens, when they hire someone like Kevin Smith or whoever it could have been, I'm always wondering, who did they approach before that person? Or was that person the number one, and then that was it? They said yes, and then, because I wonder if they approached, like, let's say if they approached me and they were like, hey, you want to take over, running He-Man, and that would be great, and, you seem like you could do a good job. I'd be like, no, thanks. Right. It doesn't appeal to me doing stuff like that. So I wonder who they approached. It's interesting to think about that.
I think it was orchestrated. I think Netflix went to Kevin Smith or a Kevin Smith type because they wanted to throw shit up.
Yeah, I think they view him as like an influencer.
Right.
I hate that word, but I think they view him as that, and I think he's more than happy to be that. So it's kind of just, I don't know. The whole thing is just doesn't put a good taste in my mouth.
Yeah, Paul Feig was the Ghostbusters guy. I was trying to remember his name. But, then these guys double down, and they start calling the fan base names because people don't like their product. And I just think, like, when would this ever work in a real world scenario? You call people man babies or whatever it is because they don't like what you did. It's like you were saying, Todd, you just kind of own it and then you move on. You go, well, I'm sorry you didn't like it. I'll try harder next time. And then you move forward. That's how you deal with these situations.
And that's the behavior that used to get you fired, so he would go on that crazy tangent and then he would get fired.
Right.
And it would be like, oh, okay, he wanted to get fired. But now it seems like it's encouraged, which is, to me, kind of disturbing.
Well, they want that. They want the bait click. That's the rage clicks sell so much more than actual discourse does.
I don't think it turns the dollars, though. I don't.
Well, no, it sells the ad. Like, do you think, like, for a lot, like, people that like read Kotaku and all these other sites and everything like that, like this anger of fans attacking Kevin Smith, that's going to get people to be like, oh, what are people so pissed off about? And then they're going to go watch it to try and figure it out. So therefore, they get the watch, they get the views, they get everything they want, even from people that aren't even interested. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. It's something that Facebook figured out when they were figuring out the algorithms. They were trying to figure out how people, or what people will click on most. And they would do, something like a puppy. They would do, and it actually really started around when they started doing the terrorist kind of stuff. When bad things were happening, people would click on those bad things way often, like way more than any puppy or anything else or any good thing. And they would click that. So the algorithm would then start putting more and more bad things and more toxic things. And people would, spiral themselves up into fear and emotion.
Right,
And
but
they
how
would-
does that? I mean, the news.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, that's where it came from.
Selling-
So now all these execs have this mentality where it's like, we want the rage bait. We want the rage bait clicks because Gamergate made us a bunch of money, because the all the hate that we could throw at Comicsgate, that makes us money, you know?
How does it
Like-
make? Explain, because I'm not getting it. How does it make them money?
Because it gets them ad revenue. All this is like ad revenue.
So Netflix is making all their money not off the He-Man cartoon, but off of ad revenue.
Yeah, because it's getting them, like, if someone's like, oh man, I don't know what they're talking about, He-Man stuff. Oh, it's on Netflix. Well, I got to go get a subscription for a month to watch this He-Man thing, to figure out what everybody's talking about. You know, they buy the subscription, they watch the show, they either like it or they don't like it, you know, to see what it is. And most of the time, those people forget that they signed up, and then they keep their subscription. You know, they get charged for like 3 or 4 months, and then eventually they get off.
Well,
but
I'm not saying
it's like free press. It's free press.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
to show
I'm not
off their
saying you're
stuff.
wrong, but the thing is, that's an awful big gamble to take. Animation is not cheap.
I'm not saying that they're making like tons of money or anything, but this model has worked for like the past 4 years. You know, ever since Trump came in and stuff, this model like really has worked and made these companies a lot of money. So they're going to try and do the thing that makes them a lot of money until it doesn't, which we're seeing that
didn't make them
broke. You know,
QTs didn't make them money. It really
I bet it didn't. And a lot of people were outraged.
Right, and they got freaking scared. You know,
good because their stock went. What was it? It was at 570, and then within a week, it was down to like 300.
Well, also the He-Man show is already dropping out of their top 5 Netflix picks, so they're not even in the top 5 right now. So that the sales are already going down.
But what I'm trying to say is,
what is Kevin Smith known for being good at? He's a good talker.
Controversy.
He's a good talker, good communicator, good on camera, and being exuberant
really
about
good
things.
impersonation of a sad chihuahua.
But
now he
didn't do that, right? Didn't you think he misstepped? Couldn't he have said, "Wait, you guys you're jumping the gun"?
He should have cried. You're right.
We all
You're obviously we're not getting. You know what I mean? He should have, because obviously you're not getting rid of He-Man, right? You know that. I mean, it can't.
No, it's a viable. That's the thing is, it's still a viable commodity. There are still people that want to see He-Man product. So
right,
this is damaging their brand in the long run. So whoever owns He-Man is actually damaging their own brand in the long run. So if it is about ad clicks and this other stuff, it's a major crapshoot to take.
It's the fad. That's the word I was looking for. It's the fad of the moment for these companies. You know how that great example is as a lot of 80s shows, a lot of really bad 80s shows and films had super tons amounts of sex and sexy women and stuff just to sell the trend, just to make money. It wasn't good. You know, no one would have watched it if it didn't have Pamela Anderson in it or something. You know what I mean? Like it was the trend. But right now, rage is the trend. And it's looking like it's ending its cycle. Thank goodness. Because people are just not having it anymore, you know.
So you think it's just a big social experiment?
Well, no, it's not a social. It's just the trend. It's like there's always is a trend. Like for some reason, out of nowhere, once CSI became big, all of a sudden you had all these crime shows.
Yeah, but there's success attached. They're emulating the success.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Is they saw success from the rage.
No success here, though.
No, there was. As I said, 4 years ago. Tons of social media and other places were making tons of money off of ad revenue of rage. And they figured out that was the one thing that people were clicking on the most, and they were getting tons of money from it. So they promoted it and promoted and promoted it. And now we have a bunch of people that are absolutely insane.
Well, the news is always sold, by fear tactics. So, tune in at 7 and we're going to tell you about, why the world is falling apart. And so you feel like you're beholden to that because you need to see how the world's going to fall apart. So you can wake up the next day and go to work. Like, well, the world's falling apart. What's the point? So they've always tried to do that to keep you glued or to keep you tuned in, because like you said, the disaster, the trauma, all these things, they sell more than hey, this good thing happened today, or this whatever, so I understand that. And it's like the old cliche, good press, bad press, who cares, as long as people are talking about your
Mhm.
product. But I think that only goes so far as
What?
well. So if you're saying this is a trend, then it's a failed trend, right? Or would you
Yeah,
say
but I think it had success. Like it had black swan moments. You know what I mean? It had some black swan moments where some people made a lot of money off of it, and then other people were like, "I want to do that. I want to make that kind of money." You know what I mean? So they all try to jump on board, and it's become this large, trend of trying to sell through rage, and I definitely think that a lot of companies and places are not just trying to push an agenda, but they're also trying to piss people off to make money. But it's nothing that's working at this point because people are just so tired of it. You know what I
so?
mean?
Is this what you're
We're all
talking
so
about?
tired of it.
Yeah, but is this like, look at Netflix stock prices the week of Cuties? Cutie was released and He-Man was released, went up both. Period. So is this kind of what you're talking about? Like that their stock prices go up? Like I don't know how
No, their
this.
stock price for cuties, it went down immensely that first day that it came out.
Yeah, it did.
It did come back up, but it had a huge dip.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is all foreign to me. Like I'm still about, trying to create a good product and have an integrity, and then, being as transparent as possible with the audience.
Mhm.
So that's always been my thing. And I think if you're going to try to create anything that's sustainable, everybody talks about sustainable business models. I think integrity and doing this is always the best is always the best route. I think these other things, you kept using the word trend, Zach. So that's probably exactly what these are. And as all trends go, they have a shelf life, and then they fade off. So let's hope that that's indeed what happens. I just think that all this stuff is a cliche at this point. Race swapping, woke agenda. All of this stuff has already been played out, and nobody's really doing it particularly well. So there isn't a good template for anybody to follow, right? I threw this up in the chat before you guys came on. I said, can anybody name like a woke product, TV show, comic book, movie that actually did well? Like I can't think of anything. What is it?
The Good Fight is completely woke. Woke as you can get. The most woke you can absolutely get. The Good Fight, and it does well.
The Good
Are you
Fight.
familiar with? Yeah,
No.
are you familiar with it? It was a spin-off of The Good Wife, which wasn't as woke.
The TV show?
Yeah, it's a TV show. Super woke. I mean, they do Trump right now. Oh, they did the Epstein thing. They do exactly what's going on at the time, and I forget what they're doing this season.
So there's one example that I've never heard of that is super successful. So there's that, I guess, but other than that, I don't really see any of this stuff succeeding, especially in genre stuff like, what we're into, like sci-fi, action, adventure, comic book related stuff. I haven't seen too much of that work. I think, when Captain Marvel came out, there was a lot of speculation that it was going to be woke. And it did succeed, but it wasn't quite as woke as everybody thought it was going to be. And the reason it succeeded is because it was kind of sandwiched and sold between two very successful movies. So
sometimes you can see the woke in something, right? But they're not hitting you in the face with a fist to prove a point. But for instance, like Evil's a good show, but it's got a female lead, and the second guy's the black guy, and the third guy's like Hispanic, Mr. Aziz from Spider-Man. It's definitely diverse. It chose to be diverse, but it's not. They didn't come out to be like, oh, we're going to be as woke as possible, and it's very well paced. It's a good show. Whereas like something as popular as Lucifer is the reverse. It's back to that masculinity. So it's not like you can't completely kill one or the other. Now, it's impossible. You can't. I know people use the term "go woke, go broke." It's not always true. You know what I mean? There's plenty of Star Trek as woke.
Well, diversity existed before this. So by you saying like topics of the day or that it's diverse, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's woke, though.
No, isn't Star Trek woke? Discovery.
The new Star Trek.
Yeah, woke-ish.
I don't know. I don't watch it.
But
But it's not doing well either, right?
Well, it's going on its 4th season. You know, it's a very expensive show, so they're keeping it up, and they're branching off of it. So how bad is it doing? You know,
I hear a lot of Star Trek people don't like it.
They don't like it for it's hitting you in the face with the woke stuff. That's why they don't like it. But it doesn't mean it's not well done.
People have to stop watching this stuff. And I know they say, well, I'll pirate it. You know, your time is more valuable than that. You can make money. You can't make time. Yeah. Stop doing anything that has to do with this stuff that makes you miserable. Stop giving it a shot. Stop saying, oh, you know, well, it looks kind of good. Like I see people ranting and raving about how good they think Ghostbusters Afterlife looks. I look at that and I go, that doesn't look like a Ghostbusters movie to me. It looks like, you know, the opposite of the 2016, whatever that movie was, where it didn't give a crap about anything that came before. It didn't take any of it seriously. This looks like, oh my God, it takes everything way too seriously. It looks like a drama with a bunch of kids. It looks like Stranger Things is Ghostbusters. It doesn't look like it's bad, but it doesn't look like a Ghostbusters movie, a horror comedy. I'm not seeing or sensing any of that. I could be completely wrong. I don't care. I don't care at this point. This kind of stuff, it doesn't give me happiness. It doesn't give me joy. So I don't give a crap about any of it. Right. Now, if there's people that come along and they're earnest about it and they want to make it that, okay, look, we're producing stories and characters here, which we're trying our best to entertain you. Give us a shot. I haven't seen any kind of showrunner, creator, whatever it is in the mainstream do that in a long time. I've seen people that come along, it's very narcissistic, it's arrogant, and they go, hey, I'm here. Can you come worship me now? I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people who think they want to out-clever the audience. I see a lot of people that think that what came before was stupid and hokey, and I'm such a genius now, I can do it better than they did it. I see a lot of that crap, and I'm turned off completely by it.
I've seen that for years in comics, too, just the level of contempt for like a character, like a writer gets the Flash and then, you know, they have serious contempt for that, you know, that character. And then they try to fundamentally change that character into something that they like, you know what I mean? But it's not the character anymore. And it all comes from the contempt for the character. And I do think that you're onto something there, Pete, because I've seen it. Speaking of the Flash, like, my roommate was John Moore. He's Howard Chaykin's writing partner, and this is the old Flash TV show before the new CW one, and so I remember
John Wesley ship
right,
show?
Right, yeah, and so I remember having a conversation with John and Howard, and so they were like, we don't have any interest in writing the Flash. We want to turn this into a procedural crime drama, a detective show, and I was like, but it's the Flash, and they're like, yeah, there's those elements too. So they were going in reverse, right? So they were trying to turn the Flash into a procedural, you know, detective show where it really wasn't that. And the people that wrote, directed the pilot were the same two. It was that Paul and Danny, I can't remember their names, but they did the Rocketeer for Disney. So they did that great Rocketeer show. They did the pilot and they were overseeing the Flash. And the pilot episode was great because there was a lot of Flash gags, things like that. And I remember having this conversation because John was roommate. He'd always come back and talk to me about, you know, the day, you know, at the studio, whatever. And then they became like head writers on the show, John and Howard. And they would say, like, we don't get it. We don't get it. Like, we're trying all these things, but nothing's happening. Like, the ratings are going down, whatever. And I just told them, I said, it's not the Flash. You're not writing a Flash show. You don't even care about that character. You're trying to turn it into something that it's not. And that pilot episode with those two guys, I forget the writers, they enjoyed the speed gags. They enjoyed the Flash. They give people what they wanted. They wanted to see speed gags. They wanted to see this guy run around and do these things. Like they came up with this one speed gag. It was great. This girl's coming over. They're gonna go on a date. He looks around. Ding dong.
Cleans up the room. Yeah,
Cleans up the
room. Whole house.
It's a tornado, and then he just makes it worse. Right? That's what people want. That's fun. That's got something that's specific to the Flash. If you want to create a cop drama, then create a cop drama, but don't do it with these characters. And that's what people do. I think there's a certain level of contempt. Like they love the stuff as a kid, but then they grow older and then they go, you know what? I always thought this was corny, or I always thought this was stupid, or whatever. So then they try to take those things out of it. And what they don't realize is that these were always meant for kids. The stuff was designed and created for kids, for the intellect of a child. So that's why they work on that level. They were never made for you to enjoy as an adult. So what they want to do, what a lot of these creators want to do, is they want to try to create their childhood loves into like something that's more adult oriented. And I'm sorry, a concept like Spider-Man is only going to appeal to children. It's called Spider-Man. Adults, unless you grew up loving Spider-Man, as an adult, you're probably not going to go, I love Spider-Man. You know what I mean? It's probably not going to happen, at least the comic book. The movies are a little bit different because there's spectacle. There's things that you've never seen before. But the comic isn't going to work that way. So I think that there is a lot of contempt. And I know Hollywood has serious contempt for any source material.
Well, I think you can make any character at any point in time with any story appeal to young, old, whatever it may be, as long as you play upon the emotion of what's occurring, because that's how you play upon the universal theme of what's there. Now, if you have something that's too intense, too violent, instead of the action involved, now you get something that's a little bit more geared towards adults. If you have something where it's cartoony and no one really gets hurt and it's that kind of a thing, you're appealing more towards kids. If you go right down the middle, you can appeal to both. But if you're keeping the characterization alive and strong by having these people with, or any character, doesn't even have to be a person, you're having that character exhibit different kinds of character traits through action. Not through saying this character is brave, but have them be brave. Not saying this character is a hero, have them be a hero. Have them do something that puts them in harm's way, that exhibits like they're willing to sacrifice. All these different things, they appeal to the young and the old. And you can have a character like Spider-Man written more so it gears towards adults, or more so it gears towards children, but you can absolutely have that character appeal to both. And I get what you're saying too, Art, but at the same time, I think a lot of these people are, and this is kind of across the board, I think they've forgotten as storytellers that kind of stuff appeals to everybody. That's what the human experience is. It doesn't matter what skin color, it doesn't matter the gender, it doesn't matter the race, it doesn't matter any of that. What matters at the end of the day is seeing someone overcome something, seeing the decision they make and seeing how that plays out, because that's what we all relate to in a story. And if as a storyteller you don't understand that, don't be a storyteller. Do something else with your life, because you're going to tell a shit story because you don't understand at the core of what it is to be a human being.
Yeah, you have to find the relatability. You have to find the human qualities within those characters so that people can have something to latch onto. Just a superpowered character isn't, no one can relate to that because no one is that. So you have to find those elements that humanize the character and that become relatable traits. Yeah, I completely understand that. But just to hone back, like comic books could be enjoyed by adults as well. So there was never like that limitation, but I've been doing this for almost 40 years now. The conceit was always, it was disposable. It was a disposable art form for children. So they start off with children's books that their parents read to them before bedtime, and then they graduate into comic books, And then if they're still action oriented or action adventure oriented, then there's novels. So there's the Edgar Rice Burroughs novels, or there's the H.G. Wells stuff, and there's those type of things that they graduate to, and then they graduate from there to War and Peace, to real books, like legit stuff. So it was always kind of like these things were designed for a certain like age group, and then you age out of it, and then you go on to the next thing.
Yeah, the more black and white the characterization, the more it is for children. The more complex it gets, the more it is for adults. That's a lot of how that literature works.
These concepts were designed for children. Spider-Man, Superman, these ideas, just the names alone are like a child would like that stuff, but not necessarily an adult. And I'm not casting any shade on adults that love it. I love it. I never grew out of it, but there are a lot of people that never grew out of it. So there's no shame attached to reading it or enjoying it. But I'm just saying, at its core, that's what it always was. And then I think over the decades, you have new generations of creative people that start thinking like that the audience has shifted and changed. So then they're writing more towards an older audience versus a younger audience. But I think they're writing it for themselves. I don't think they're writing it for the audience, because the audience themselves never complained about it. I don't remember, ever being in a conversation like, Batman would be better as long, if he just starts killing people, or if it becomes more, realistic or whatever. I always just enjoyed it based on what it was, what I was getting, but then things, you get older, and then the people that create these things gets older, and they start basically creating books for themselves or for their age group, and they forget that these things were originally designed for a certain age group. Anybody can enjoy it, so there isn't like a mandate that you can only enjoy this. And the thing is, there were always adult comic books even then as well. So there were comic books that were aimed more at an adult audience, but there were also, I'm talking mainly like Marvel and DC, like superhero stuff, was more kid, or like Harvey Toons or these type of thing, Archie. They were aimed at a younger audience.
I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that for children, largely, even still, I'd say, it's okay for them to have imaginations. As an adult, it's strange for you to have an imagination, to have wonderment, to have dreams. So when you think of fantastical things as a kid, that's what kids do. But when you think of fantastical things as an adult, everyone looks at you and goes, "What the hell are you talking about? Aren't you jaded by actual life? What's wrong with you? Go get a job." And that's the divide that occurs when it comes to fiction fantasy for kids and for adults, and why things have become accepted for one and not for the other, and that kind of a thing. There's stigma attached. What it is, though, is that stories, though, and characters appeal to everyone, young and old. And the comic industry has had a weird chip on its shoulder for the longest time about that. About thinking, it's so just for kids, We have to let people know that comics just aren't for kids. And then by doing that, they actually cast away and pushed kids completely out of that scope. And then they just catered to adults because it was playing upon the fact that they grew up with these things. So let's just keep, getting them to purchase these things. And that's it. Well, we won't worry. The kids, they probably don't like any of this stuff anyway, and we don't want people to think just comics are just for kids. And comics lost an entire generation or two thinking like that.
Yep.
And not realizing, well, no, if you get kids interested in comics and you just tell good solid stories and you have it that so everyone can read it, now you have a constantly sustainable storytelling industry. The way, no one says movies, those are just for kids, or those are just for adults. TV shows, they're just for this, they're just for that. Music, that's just for teenagers. These things are for everyone at any point in their life. Will they all be for everyone? Hell no, absolutely not. But there's at least one comic book out there for every single person on the planet. I strongly believe that with every fiber of my being. But the thing is that the comic industry, I feel, doesn't really believe that. And even if they tell you they do, they sure as hell, it's not there. It's not prevalent. There's a big inferiority complex among people who make comics, among the companies that are there, even feeling like they need to kowtow to Hollywood and need to bend over backwards and say, you're right, you got to adapt and change these things because, the movies and it's real and they won't get it. It just doesn't carry over. That's them going, okay, yeah, you're the cool kids at the table. We'll do whatever it is you say. Instead of saying, no, these things, they have their own integrity. They have their own merit. Let's be faithful to that.
Yeah, exactly. I remember just there were there's been a couple people that have had like mainstream audience, like they've had exposure to. It's been like Mark Waid, Joe Quesada, and Kevin Smith. Okay, so we already played the Kevin Smith, all that through. But I do remember I read an article. This was like Entertainment Weekly or whatever, and it was Mark Waid talking about comics in Hollywood and all this other stuff, right? And so he's talking down to the fan base. Even then, like there's a contempt that just is in it's just permeates the industry. And so he was talking about tights and capes, using derogatory terms for superheroes, and then he's talking about the comic book buying person is like a 30-something still living in his mom and dad's basement. You know what I mean? Like he's talking about this in a mainstream magazine, right? How is this making the industry any better? How is this changing anything? You actually, if you have this voice, you have a responsibility to, I feel you have a responsibility to talk this stuff up and to make it seem cool. If you talk like this, it's not going to work. And then I remember, because I was, I always knew Joe. I knew Joe Quesada when he broke into the business, all these things. And I noticed that when Hollywood and Marvel and all this stuff started happening, he started referring things like tights and capes. And he started using like more derogatory terms. And I think it's because they think it scores points with Hollywood. Like this is like you said, there's this. They're not prideful. They're not like these things are great. Spider-Man's great. All this stuff's great. They're kind of saying that, but on the other hand, they're saying, isn't it kind of silly and stupid too? You know what I mean? Because they want to be the cool kids. Because they want Hollywood to go, yeah, we see the stupidity in this, but don't worry, we'll fix everything. So it's like they're willing to sell out their own to gain something short term. And we're seeing how all that's working out. I mean, it might work out for those individuals, but it's not working out for the industry.
That's what I was going to say, because they're gaining. He might be gaining, but he's a big fat liar because he knows comics have been hurt. And,
right.
And the last time Marvel comics were good was sort of the Marvel Knights era until its end. Brought in the really good writers, a lot of the UK guys who wrote brutal comics. They wrote superheroes against supervillains for super stakes. They wrote that.
And it was a line that was designed to be more adult oriented.
Right.
So they took full advantage of that. So I do think that there's those aspects too, where you can kind of keep your main line more kind of appeal to everybody, but it's more kid oriented. And then you can have your adult lines. They've always had Vertigo, and they Marvel used to have these great prestige books, the Epic line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
shit, man, I love those books because I was already an older guy, and I was like, shit, the artwork is fantastic, the subject matter is killer.
That was creator owned, right? Not fully, I think, but
some of it was, yeah. But some of it was like there could be a Silver Surfer, story, but it was very adult, or there could be like they would get Mobius to do a story, or I think they reprinted a lot of the Mobius stuff as well, and they reprinted the Akira stuff. With digital coloring and all that other stuff. So they were doing some crazy cool stuff, but nobody has that vision anymore. They just kind of think it should be this one thing, and everybody just wants to put everything in one cynical box.
But it's so diverse, Art.
Yeah, they're so diverse, but they're not diverse. Yeah, like all this stuff was way more diverse in the day. Like you don't get more diverse than an X-Men team, like the new X-Men team, right? And then everybody nowadays is like, oh, we're diverse. We're we got this character, we got that character. But it's like comic books have always been diverse. They've always had all these things,
One of the big key sellers at Marvel, and I remember hearing this from a few pros, is when they had that line of Conan, and you had a bunch of Conan floppies. They had a bunch of magazines tied into Conan and other properties like Solomon Kane and all that. Those books sold gangbusters because they sold here and they sold in the UK huge. They did so much money on that line. And then why did it just all of a sudden go away? You know,
It's the direct market. They stopped selling to newsstands. Like, I think all those magazine-sized books, like the Savage Sword and all that stuff, they went away, right? When with the direct market.
Hey,
is
Art.
that what caused?
I
Hey,
think so. Yeah.
Art.
Yeah.
Art.
Yeah.
I gotta get going.
All right,
So I
man.
just have a parting shot. Listen to what Pete said. Vote with your wallet. China's out to get you. Be wary. Have a good night, everybody.
China's out to get you. That's going to be our next show. China's out.
Half
to get
of me feels personally attacked by that, Mark.
Well, I think it was directed at you, Pete. I don't think it was a coincidence.
And it's funny, you know what? Whoever's out to get us, they are using social media to get us.
Well, yeah, because
infiltrating.
they've seen that social media has the power to actually disband all government propaganda across the board. And you can easily go, hey, that person over there who lives there, they're not so bad. They're kind of like me. And, oh, hey, we have a lot in common. Let's get along. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Because the early days of Twitter, honestly, it was kind of pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was like a nice vacation from life. It felt like a nice, big, happy bar room. They saw that, they turned that power against people, and they manipulated the whole situation to cause division instead of unification, because peace doesn't make money, war makes money.
But also, like, unification is strength. So if the people are bonded together,
oh yeah,
they're stronger.
Then they start talking and going, well, we need these guys over here telling us what to do.
Who needs Marvel and DC, right? Who needs? We got
across the board. Yeah,
we got comic tape. Yeah, exactly. Do you guys have a parting shot? Pete, do you have a parting shot just to kind of wrap a nice bow on this whole
just for, I don't want to preach or anything like that, but just for people, I get it. You guys are connected, you're attached with this stuff, you're emotionally invested, and in many respects, I understand. I am as well. But don't spend so much time over these things that you hate. Don't think, oh, well, if we rail against it, they'll change, they'll understand. It's all part of the plan. Just find the things that you love, gravitate towards that, boost those things, give those things oxygen. Because quite frankly, if you do want to change hearts and minds over there on the other side of the fence, that's how you do it, is by giving everything that you really care about now and have found new things to support, by giving that the time and the energy and the oxygen. It doesn't have to be alternate. It's not an alternate pitch. It could be anything at all that is not something that is making you miserable. Your life is way too valuable. Your time is too valuable. So just, go along with that.
Yeah. Go towards stuff you like, and possibly just give up on the fact that Hollywood probably is going to completely let you down at this point. And to be honest, when have they ever really lifted us up? There's been a few gems, a comic book, adaptations that have done well, but overall, I mean, their track record isn't all that great. So yeah, just back what you enjoy. For me, just back what you enjoy, and maybe start giving up some of that childhood stuff. If something comes along and it's great, then embrace it. If not, just
the originals are out there. Go buy them on DVD or something, or go get the books, whatever it may be. I love back issues. I love DVDs of old shows. I make sure to get whatever it is that I care about, and I put them on. I watch them. I'll read the book, whatever it may be. Yeah. But as creative people too, we all have to recognize now is a prime. It's a prime time to get some stuff out there and talk with your creative voice in terms of, you don't like what's going on with these stories, create some that you find, hey, these are lacking. We need more of these. Make them. Put
your money where your mouth is. Yeah. Instead of talking about it, do something about it. And I think that's fundamentally what Comicsgate is working towards. So, how about you, Todd? What do you have for us?
Two things. One, I'll prop up some things. Right, I really like Nightwing. The last 5-6 issues of Nightwing have been really, really good. A book called Chariot. It's an Image book, independent book. Really, really outstanding. Go check those out. I used to talk a lot about Once and Future, but it's sort of on hiatus right now. But that was a stellar book, Once and Future. Dan Moore and Kieran Gillian, excellent, very excellent book. So after that, I'll say this: I got a big announcement to come. Maybe I'll announce it next Wednesday. I've sort of figured out what I'm going to do next, and it comes from being a little bit haunted. So I'll tell you about that next week.
Well, very cool, very cool. And everybody support, all these projects. If you don't know, Todd Mulrooney was the brilliance behind Florida Man. So he's got a new project coming out. It's going to rock. And Black and White, the pre-launch page is still up for a little bit longer. So if you want to get some freebies, you want to get some exclusives, sign up now. The link is in the description. And also Chrono is going to be closing out at the end of the month. So if you want to get Chrono Mechanics book, please do so ASAP. The book is done and is going to ship out ASAP. So I want to thank everybody in the chat. Thank you for keeping me alive for an hour before we could get this show up and running. Thank you so much, Pete, for coming in. Thank you, Todd, for coming in. And thanks to Zach. That got, what did they say? He got canceled. So Zach got canceled. He's out of here. So
bound to happen sooner or later.
It had to happen. It was inevitable. So we'll see you guys next week with another Pontificators. You guys have a great evening and talk to you soon. Take care.
Take it easy.